Yo, what's up everybody? This is Jose from Florida Hood Blogs. Man, I've been dying to make this video. Sebring, Florida. The real down, like the real, like if you really want to move to Sebring, Florida, or you've considered moving here, you just want to know about this town, this is the real scope, the real deal. Alright, first things first, most people in Florida have never been to Sebring, and they probably never will. This is a place you go to on purpose. There's no real reason for you to go there. It's in the middle of the state. It's not like you can end up in Miami, you can end up in Orlando doing this or that. You're not going to end up in Sebring. If you're going there, it's a very purposeful thing. So that's why I'm so excited about the city, because we've all wondered about it, we've all curious about it, but very few of us actually have the time to go to this town in the middle of nowhere and try to figure it out. This is a town of hustlers and go-getters. If you are a weak-minded person, you ain't gonna make it out here. This ain't like Naples where there's work everywhere, Fort Myers where there's work everywhere. This is a place for a strong-minded person. I was there about 8 months ago, and I met a gentleman who was out, nice truck, nice boat, and they're having fun on the lakes. There's a lot of lakes. It's probably the best thing about this area are all the lakes. And these young kids, I guess it was his wife and him and some friends were out boating. And I asked them, hey, what do you guys do for a living? The guy says, well, I live in Fort Myers. I'm like, wow, that's about a 70-mile drive. He says, yeah, I get there in an hour or something like that. I'm like, wow, how fast do you drive? He goes, well, I leave at 5 in the morning and I get on the country roads where there's no cops and I go 90 miles an hour and I get to Fort Myers in the morning. He says in the afternoon it takes a little bit longer because you can't speed in the afternoon. But anyways, what I'm trying to tell you is that this is a place of hustlers, go-getters. This isn't a place for a weak-minded person. There's a lot of drugs out there. It is a boring and depressing type of place, so if you're a weak-minded person, you ain't gonna make it out here. This is a place for somebody who really has a clear, sober, solid mind, somebody who's willing to save money, spend little, and watch that money pile up slowly. This is not a place for somebody who's desperate and impatient. This is a place for somebody to stack up money really slowly. Sebring has a lake in the middle called Lake Jackson. We're going around the south side of the lake heading towards the east. I really like this neighborhood. It's like a Cape Cod style. Look at the houses. It's like a Cape Cod style, which reminds me of where I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. It's a really rare type of neighborhood to see. Look at the houses. See the little Knoxville, Louisville looking houses, Cape Cod style houses. You just don't see that in Florida. So I like this neighborhood. Now, there's just what you got to understand about the layout of the city. Everything on the east side, for the most part, east side of the lake, is mostly hoods and poverty, okay? Except for the town center. The historic town center is on the east side of the lake, and they've really cleaned up the center of town. This area has a lot of drug dealing, like is expected of Central Florida. There's a lot of drug use all over Central Florida, and Sebring is no exception to that law. It's all over Florida, especially Central Florida. Sebring, it's part of it. There's drugs everywhere in Sebring, but they really cleaned up the center historic side of the town, which we're driving towards right now. Everything commercial is on the west side of the lake. 27, I think it is, runs along the west side of the lake. It's like 3 lanes each way. It's packed with traffic. There's every store you can think of. Applebee's, Chili's, Walmart, Publix. Everything you would expect a city to have is there. As far as retail, as far as services, restaurants, everything you could imagine is in Sebring. They have it all. It's all there. And the rents are very affordable. I believe between the range of $700 to $900 for everybody that I spoke to said they were paying about that much in rent. So now what's going to happen with Sebring is, like I said earlier in the video, it's really a place to crunch numbers. And in general, nobody knows how to crunch numbers better than Hispanics. Specifically, Cubans are very good at crunching numbers. And what I mean is eating rice and beans every day, spending $50 a week on groceries, making a short income go a very long way towards saving money and finally being able to get a down payment on a house. You're starting to see a lot of people from the Miami area, not just Cubans, but everybody coming out of Miami. Sebring is the first thing you hit on 27 coming out of Miami. That's significant in size, so you're seeing a lot of people coming out of Miami, moving into Sebring because of the gentrification has made housing in Miami very expensive. They are very friendly to newcomers. If you're saying, "Oh, I moved here," you're not going to get that like hatred like in a lot of parts of Florida. They really don't like you if you're not from there. Out here, it doesn't matter where you're from. What matters is that you're just in line, you keep your manners, you're respectful. The people are very friendly. There's a lot of elderly people, and the elderly people are for the most part on a fixed income, so it's not out of the norm. If you walk into a public bathroom, there's an elderly person, you might have to help them get on or off the toilet, or a little extra, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of elderly people and they need help, so there's a real sense of neighborhood and a real sense of community that you're not going to get in a lot of places in Florida. And I think the fact that there's a lot of elderly people on a really fixed income, you know what I mean? Like, they're not able to pay people to do stuff for them. So like, you'll see people out there that you can tell they're elderly and they're just making it by on bare minimum. And sometimes like, you go into a bathroom, like you might have to help somebody open the door for somebody. You might have to help people get in their car or put their groceries in their car. It's not like that everywhere, and it's definitely not like that in Naples or West Palm Beach or none of that. But out here, it's a little different because the elderly people are not balling, they're not rich, they're just trying to get by. So there's a more sense of community. You really are not like in a lot of parts of Florida, you can ignore everybody around you. Out here, you got to say hi to everybody. You kind of have to, exchange smiles with people, and it's okay to open a door. It's okay to help somebody with their grocery cart, etc., etc. Like, as I said, there's a lot of elderly people. There's also a lot of Hispanics moving in from other parts of Florida. I also met a young man who's coming from New Jersey, so it seems like it's a really affordable place. So it's attracting people from all over the state and all over the country, really. The center of town, it feels like Alabama. It feels like Georgia. It feels like a small town in Kentucky. It really has that small town feel. You know what I mean? Like the old buildings, the old houses. Development and the layout of the cityscape hasn't came in and just tore through the city. I mean, it's like the whole district, because all the commerce, again, it's on the west side of the lake, so the east side of the lake, everything on that side has just been left the way it kind of was, which is great because it's got that real southern town feel. Where in a lot of places in Florida, they're building a freaking skyscraper right next to a historic building. I know in the city of Fort Myers, there's a really old building that demolished it, and they're going to make it again, and it's going to look like the original building, etc., etc. Out here, no, you get that real, like, raw feel. Like, you feel like you're in Georgia or Alabama, one of those little small towns, and that's a real hard thing to get in Florida. And if you're into old houses, there's a lot of like little cottages and houses and a lot of stuff like that, like from the 1900s, 1940s, whatever. You just don't get that in Florida. So if you're into that, this town really has a lot of that. It has a lot of small town charm in the city center, the historic district. Once you get out into the north side of the city and the west side of the city, west of the lake, then it definitely feels like the rest of Florida. The housing here is extremely affordable, and that's what's drawing a lot of people to Sebring, is how affordable the housing is compared to the rest of the state. You can still grow your mangoes, you can still grow your bananas. I've seen mango trees growing right there in the city of Sebring, and they do produce fruit. So if you like the tropical, this is about as far as you can stretch if you're into that, if you really want that Florida gardening. It does get cold out there, but it's not going to prevent you from getting those mango trees. So if you like the tropical fruit, then definitely you can still get by with your mango tree in Sebring, Florida. If you go any further north than that, it's really hard. There's a town just north of Sebring called Frostproof. It's probably named that way just so they could sell real estate back in the day. But the concept is you can still grow your mango trees in this area. And to a lot of people, that's important if they can afford it. If you can't afford it, then there's not too many options. This house is for sale right here for $40,000, I think was what the sign said. In Highlands County, you can get for a 3-2 for about $115,000. It's not going to be spanking new. It's going to be like 80s or 90s or whatever. And it's not going to be a brand new house. But you can get a 3-2 for about starting at $115,000. If you want directly on a lake, it's going to depend on the property. But I've seen anything from 250s, usually starting at about 329 for a nice house on the lake, and then they get up to the 700 and 800, 7 and 800, especially the smaller lakes as you head north of Sebring towards Orlando. There are some like just massive houses on these lakes, so there are high-end real estate, but for the most part, you got places like this where we're starting to get out into the outskirts of Sebring. You start to see a lot of like really low income properties, which for the most part just means that there's a lot of poverty. But if you're a real smart individual, you can save a lot of money if you're not throwing all your money at housing. So that's why I said it's really a place for go-getters and hustlers. Somebody who's at the bottom and wants to work hard and save money, you can definitely do it out here. It's going to take a lot of effort, and it's something you can't really do in the big cities. If all your money's going to housing, it doesn't leave you a lot of money left for anything else. So if you're really reckless with buying cars and spending and all that stuff, this may not be the place for you. What you wear in Sebring doesn't seem to matter. You can wear some old shorts and a ripped up shirt to the store with an old hat you've been wearing for 5 years and some old sneakers that you used to mow the lawn with, and don't nobody care. This is that place where people ain't worried about clothing. If you drive a Kia because it's the most affordable thing, ain't nobody care what you drive. It's not like in Naples or Fort Myers where everybody's got a BMW and a Land Rover. Now out here, it really doesn't matter what you drive. You don't need to impress nobody. Everybody's just barely making it, but there's a possibility to save money. And I know a lot of people, especially my kind, Spanish people, I got friends that came from Cuba, and they're in Naples where jobs don't pay all that well and rents are extremely high. I got families that I know that come from Cuba with nothing, and they don't even know how to speak English. And in 5 years, they'll save up $100,000, $80,000. I got friends in Miami. 4 guys get together and they move into a little mobile home, or 4 or 5 guys. They pay $250 each a month for rent. They'll split $1,000 rent in between 4 guys, and they save money, and you can save $1,000 a month, in a real affordable place. You're not paying a lot of rent. You're not making a lot of money, but you're not spending it, so you can really save it. So I think if you got that type of mindset, and which a lot of Cuban people, the people coming into Miami, a lot of people moving out of Miami, like that type of person who it's just really about crunching the numbers to make it work, you can really save some money out here. So while most people will drive through here and see nothing but pure poverty, what I actually see is a place where you can stack up some money if you're making more than you're spending. You're not going to be making a lot, but there's definitely not a lot of money to spend it on. Even if you're renting, the rents are really affordable out here. This is definitely not a place I would recommend somebody who's broke to move to. And I understand a lot of people, man, you want that pool, you want to go to the beach, you want that new car, you want that new cell phone, you want to go shopping, you want to be near the malls. In restaurants, I love restaurants, man. I go out and eat at the best restaurants around. I get all that, you know what I mean? Like, I get all that. That's what most young people want to do. So if it's, I wouldn't recommend moving here if you're broke, because there's no shopping, doesn't seem like there's that many restaurants. Doesn't seem like there's that much to do. Here's what there is to do. If you're into the country lifestyle, I'm talking about hunting. If you like hunting, I saw a lot of people hauling their ATVs from Arcadia all the way to Sebring. That whole area has a lot of hogs. You'll see people with their trucks and their dogs and their guns coming back from a hunting trip with their ATVs. So if you're into hunting, fishing, boating, that is what there is to do out there. Most people today are not into that lifestyle. This is a real country place. A lot of the stuff there is to do is just outdoor activities. Most people today would rather live in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, where they can go shopping, malls, beaches, in their BMWs. And I totally get that. I'm just describing what this place has to offer. It definitely doesn't have to offer all that fancy city stuff. What it offers is affordability. It offers peace, tranquility, serenity. It offers great hunting. It offers great boating, and there's a lot of sales jobs. There's a lot of retail jobs. They don't pay a lot, but you'll see a lot of people buying boats, buying ATVs, stuff like that. Cabata, you'll see a lot of ATVs, Cabata boats, all that stuff. They're selling pontoon boats. They're selling all types of boats out there. I'm surprised, like they haven't put like a Bass Pro Shop out there. There's a lot of retail sales. So as far as like if you're a salesperson, this may be a good area for you, because they're especially if you're specialized in those type of things. It does seem like there's a lot of jobs in that field because there's so much hunting, fishing, boating going on in that area. Now you're probably wondering at this point in the video, this looks like a ghost town, and it really does. But I didn't get to the other side of town. The other side of town, you can look it up on Google Earth. It'll take you 2 seconds to figure it out. It looks like Fort Myers. It looks like Fort Lauderdale. It looks like any big city in Florida. Along the main road, stoplights, traffic, cars, commerce, all that is there. So Sebring, like I said, on the retail side, they have everything a city would need to have. And you can Google map that yourself in 2 seconds, and you can see that there's just everything a city would have. And most people who are moving here are probably going to be looking at the other side of town. But like I said, the historic district is on the east side of town. That's why I went there. By the time I got to the commercial side of Sebring, it was already dark, but I'm just going to ride around and show you guys what it looks like out there. They got everything you need. PetSmart, Publix, Walmart, every store, every retail thing you need, they have it there in Sebring. And that's great, because a lot of these small towns or rural areas just don't have everything. And it does seem like Sebring really does have just everything you need there. But it's still a really economically challenged area. A lot of people want to make a lot more money than just a regular retail job. And it doesn't seem like construction, real estate, all the other areas where big money's being made in Florida, where a lot of people are making more money, it doesn't seem like that's there. But at least the basic stuff is there. So if you're content with the basic stuff, then Sebring might be a place for you. If you're looking to make more money and spend more money, then it's probably not an area you're going to enjoy, because then you're probably going to think it's pretty boring and very, I don't know, simple, which for some people is great. For other people, it's just not fun. So it depends on how much you're willing to go without to live out here. I mean, it's not like small towns where you have nothing. There's stores and stuff, but it's not like to the standard of a lot of people. They want to have malls. They want to have, you know, everything that's fancy. You're not going to get all that there. You'll get the basic stuff. I think Sebring is a good place for somebody who's coming from up north and they just want to get out of the snow. They don't ever want to see snow again in their lives. Definitely would work for you. And then you don't want to deal with the traffic. You don't want to deal with the high cost of living in South Florida. Like, you want to live in Florida, you want to have everything, but you don't want to have to deal with the traffic jams. You don't want to have to deal with the development. You don't want to have to deal with all the expensive housing. You know, like, so if you're like up north and you just want to live in South Florida but in a normal place that's affordable, then, you know, this might be for you. Or if like you're in Florida and you have really struggled with getting high paying jobs and you really need to reduce your overhead, your rent, then you'll definitely find rent for 60% of what it would cost, you know, anywhere else in Florida. So if you haven't been able to fix your income situation, like you're a high school dropout, or, you know, I don't know, something like a criminal record, because, you know, you'll be able to reduce the rent and you'll still be able to find a regular job at a regular Best Buy or something, you know. So if you're just looking to reduce the rent, then this might be the place for you. Also, if you have a net worth between like 100,000 and 300,000 and you just want to own your house and not have to worry about the 9-to-5 grind, then you can definitely do it here. I mean, you can get a house out here for $70,000, rent it out for $750 or $800, and, you know, you get a really fast return on your money. So it's a good place for somebody who is, you know, has a small net worth and they're looking to get out of the 9-to-5. Maybe have one rental property. If you can find a duplex, there's a lot of duplexes in the area. If you can get a duplex, live one side, rent the other, especially if you don't have a mortgage, it's a really good place to do something like that, especially if you have like internet income or something like that, you know, where you don't need, because the hardest thing that I have noticed about this county, Highlands County, and in particular the city, so not so much if you're in the county of Highlands, but if you're in Avon Park, if you're in Sebring, if you're like within the city limits, you're going to find that being self-employed here is very difficult. In comparison to other parts of Florida, like for example, here in Collier County, I have a business license. I pay like $36 to get my license and like $12 or $14 to renew it every year. In Highlands County, the cities there in Highlands County, Sebring and Avon Park, they have really made it hard to be self-employed. And I wondered why it's like that. I started to talk to the residents. This was about 8 months ago on my first visit here. And the answer that I got from the residents was that they thought that the citrus industry and a few other large employers in the area are purposely making it hard for people to be self-employed so that the general workforce can be at their control or easier for them to access. In other words, if people were able to start their own lawn companies and start their own landscaping and pool cleaning and all these other services, then the local workforce will be independent from the big companies. So what the locals think is that basically these big companies have mixed with government to make laws and make cities have really strict regulations on small businesses, so that everybody is kind of forced not to be self-employed, but to have to go work for them in their industries. And I don't know how much truth there is to that. This is what the residents are telling me. Like they said, basically the citrus industry wants the labor force to be there, so let's make it hard for them to get in business. I calculated that if I were to move there, about the first $8,000, I don't know about year after year, but initially to get set up, I think the first $8,000 would go just to licensing, inspections. Like if you're gonna run an out of home business, which in a lot of places you can just go straight to the state and get your state license, or straight to the county and get a tax ID number, and that's how business in Florida is really easy. Well, if you're in Sebring and Avon Park, that home site will have to go through a series of inspections and a bunch of other crap, and each city is going to require a specific license from that city for you to work or advertise there, something like that. So basically, the cost of being a small business here is pretty high. And I never really got that. Let me give you guys an example. I have a small business, and it's junk removal. I have a truck and a trailer, and that's all I really have is a truck and a trailer for my business. Behind my house, there's a carpet store, and the guy that works there, that owns the place, he'll drive a Bentley today, a Rolls Royce tomorrow, and a Ferrari the next day. I'm 2 miles from the beach. I'm in a really nice area, and the county here doesn't care if I have a truck and trailer on the property. Well, if I were to move to Sebring, I would have to build a shed or a garage and park the truck and trailer inside of the garage. In order for the city to give me my business license, then I would have to have the city inspect the structure before they determine if they're going to give me that business license, and it just seems like that's too much of a headache. So I don't understand why these small poor places make it so hard to get into business, when places like Naples, where there's so much more money and luxury, actually make it easy for you to have your own little business. So it does seem like there's a lot of hoops to jump through if you want to be self-employed in this area. Unless you fall within the county and not within city limits, and most of the affordable housing and volume of housing is within the city. Now, this little house here, I like it. It's up for $60,000. Now, the house needs some roof work. It needs some structural work. It's an old house. It's got termite damage or some type of wood damage all over it. But it's a nice lot in the center of town, and it's $60,000. What else are you going to find in South Florida for $60,000 is a question that I want to ask, to where if you're a handy person where you know how to fix all that little wood damage, you know how to deal with all those little details yourself, you don't mind getting your hands dirty, this is a really nice property. If I owned this property, I would little by little fix all the things that are wrong with it. You know, the little mixing blocks. Maybe I'd put pavers on the whole entire property so you don't have dirt. I would fix it up, and it would be a nice, decent place to live, and at a very cheap starting cost. The only problem that I would have is how would the city feel about my equipment, which is just a trailer. But like I said, they seem to have a problem with the permitting process. So the house is $60,000. Not a lot of money. It needs a lot of work. There's stuff around the the soffit, all that. So but it's still a good starting price. If this house were in Bonita Springs, in this condition, I don't think you could get your hands on it for less than $180,000. It's got some really nice wood floors on the inside. It's got space on both sides, and you're gonna notice that the roof near the fireplace there's a little bit of damage right in there. You'll see it when I come back around, but it's got a nice fireplace, and there's not too many of these older historic houses in Florida, so it's a really nice thing if you're into that. I love that. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and to me, I love these old houses because I grew up in them. I'm really, I don't know, it just makes me feel like it gives me that home type of feel, which you just don't get from the little houses we have here in Florida that all look the same, you know. As far as massive, like construction projects and all that going on, there isn't too much going on really. They did on this road here. They did a big roundabout, and they've got palm trees in the medians. There's a hospital that they built that looks like it's newer. I don't remember seeing it last time I was out here. It's good that they have new hospitals. That's great. I don't see huge development going on. I don't think I saw any development going on. But that's good because that means that there's still inventory of houses. So it's a good time to buy. When they start to build stuff, is a sign that the housing has already gotten so expensive and they've kind of run out of inventory. So that's already at a late stage. But where you have to be careful in Florida is places like Hawthorne. No, that's not the town I'm thinking about. Baldwin, Florida is the town that I'm thinking about, which I first visited in 2012, and I just visited in 2019. In Baldwin, Florida, I don't see a single, I think a Dollar General is the only thing, or a Dollar Family is only, whatever, Family Dollar, whatever, is the only thing that's gone into that town in 7 years. That's scary. You want a place that's growing. So, but like I said, there's still a lot of housing inventory in Highlands County, so they're not building a whole lot more of new houses. Now, there are newer houses on the west side of town. Maybe in the future I could go in there, and it's nice. It looks like Naples or Fort Myers or Sarasota. They have communities. I think even heading all along that whole, on the west side of town, there's a lot of newer communities. You can look it up on Google Maps, golf courses and all that, just like you'd have anywhere else. And on the north side of Sebring, on the north side of the lake, you'll see a lot of newer stuff there too. So there's some new construction, but it's not on a scale that would reflect that there's a crunch in housing. There isn't. You can still find housing, but you have to be careful of that because, like I said, there's places like Baldwin where there hasn't been any new houses built, and the town hasn't changed in 7 years. It's not really the type of place you want to invest your money. You want to invest your money in a place that's about to take off, and that's really hard to tell. Who would have thought like Lehigh Acres was going to do that? There's more houses and people in Lehigh Acres, and they all got filled in, and now they're building more. So, and who would have foreseen that? If we would have foreseen it, we would have all invested into it. Real estate in the state of Florida changes so fast. I did a video not too long ago, and I put Opa-locka and Hialeah at #1 on worst places to live in Florida, and that was based on trips that I did about a year ago. And now I go back and I'm like, ooh, I got to go back and remake that video. Miami Gardens, Hialeah, Opa-locka actually have like gentrified, not like completely gentrified, but all the stores or gas stations are new. Businesses are open up till 3 in the morning. So like the thing is, like, Cubans and Haitians are really industrious people. Like, they'll move into a neighborhood and you say, oh wow, it's all beat up, it's all poor. Man, they start putting stucco on the houses. They start planting trees. Those trees grow and they get big and pretty. A good example is a video I did for the Habitat Housing in Naples, Florida. And in that video for the Habitat Housing in Naples, that neighborhood was cookie cutter, okay? When they first built it, they were all the same. It was nasty. You go in there now, and you're like, wow, what a nice neighborhood. Because everybody stuccoed the houses and painted them different colors. Because it was a complete cookie cutter neighborhood when they first developed it. But then people stucco the houses, the mango trees get bigger, and then the neighborhood transforms, and that's what's happening in Opa-locka and Hialeah, Miami Gardens, even like Carol Mart. What's up to my friend DN? He's over there in Carol City area, which is Miami Gardens. There was a Carol Mart, which if you saw like the old Rick Ross or DJ Khaled, they would make the music videos in that parking lot. Dude, I just did a drive-through. That's a huge shopping center now with businesses and gyms and markets and stores and it's brand new parking and brand new palm trees and so changes come to places in a place that today is bordering undesirable that could just change overnight. And it's just you really have to be in touch with the people that are moving in because what happened with Obalaka, yeah, there are older houses and stuff, but the Cubans and Haitians move in. They go from renters, they switch to homeowners, start making those changes in neighborhoods. Or if they start flipping properties, and next thing you know, that neighborhood becomes desirable, in an area. The suburbs creeped in, and next thing you know, an area that used to be urban undesirable, no, it's actually pretty nice. You might not like the demographics of the area. I don't like urban places. I like living more in the open in the country. But if you like that demographic, it's a clean area. Roads are paved. Businesses are going up. Restaurants are open to 3 in the morning. So that's stuff to do. I personally don't like the rush of living in the city and the traffic and the commute and all that. But now I look at that list that I made not too long ago, and I could definitely tell you that if I were to remake that list today, Immokalee, Belglade, Clewiston would all fall, even Sebring would fall way behind Opelika. So real estate changes very quickly in the state of Florida for some places that are on the up and go. Unfortunately, for other places, they stay very stagnant for long periods of time. So even somebody like myself who's out in the field, on the ground, it changes so fast that from within a few months, I'll give you guys an idea. Montour Ranch, which I recently did a video on, that place changed very quickly. They paved some roads. They're talking about putting an airport in Clewiston. The housing in that area changed. But here's the thing. You really got to tune in to the particular type of housing, because what happens in a place is like Montour Ranch, the houses that I looked at over a year ago, about a year ago, when I was out there, wow, my neighbor's running a chainsaw. Like they're the quietest people ever. I start working on a video, they start running a chainsaw. Anyways, Montour Ranch, it was like some of the houses that I saw a year ago, they're still on the market and they haven't sold, but they're mobile homes. When you look at houses, the same thing with LaBelle, houses, single family houses, concrete block. That's when I'm talking. When I talk to you about real estate, I'm talking to you about single family concrete block houses, because mobile homes are still on the market. They haven't sold what they're asking, but concrete block houses, single family homes, that's where those jumps in prices can really happen. And there's areas where rental units are just undesirable. Look at this here in Sebring. That is a lot of cars. That means those rental units are pretty packed from what you can tell here. And that lets you know there might be a crunch in multi-unit housing. So this is the type of place where an investor will come in and put up a brand new apartment complex, and it's going to get filled up, So when you look at real estate, make sure you really tune into the particular type of real estate you're looking at, because some types of properties, the whole area could pop off in a certain type of property. Maybe like Lehigh, duplexes became hot, boom, up to 200,000. Cape Coral, same thing, boom, duplexes are hot, up to 200,000. Bonita Springs, duplexes, boom, they went through the roof. But there's another type of housing in that same neighborhood that just doesn't go anywhere. So, like for example, in Estero was the student housing, so single one-bedroom stuff, and houses where people could rent like a garage or an efficiency, boom, right through the sky. So it depends on the particular type of housing you're looking at in an area. So that affects them. So you can look at an area, if you're looking just for like in a single price range, like let's say Sebring, if you're looking at under $100,000, you had a lot more options a year ago than you do now. But if you're in the $200,000 range, 180 range, it hasn't really changed a lot. So sometimes the changes in real estate happen in a real particular area. Like maybe there's people moving out of Miami and they're looking for affordable, and they got $100,000, $120,000, $80,000. They're looking just to get in real cheap. Those take up all the cheap real estate in an area. But then you look a little bit higher on the prices in the 200 and 300 range, and there's no changes at all. like Naples, people think it's expensive because the average, like in my zip code, the average house is worth like $450,000 or something ridiculous like that. It doesn't mean that my house is expensive or that everything in this zip code is expensive. What it means is that there are no affordable options in my zip code. All the options are expensive. But if you look at an acre of land in Naples, Florida, out in the estates, right? And you look at an acre of land in North Florida, they may be the same exact price. But here are the differences. This is where you start to see differences on real estate. And I'm using an empty lot just to give you guys, I'll make it more simple. The empty lot in North Florida doesn't need to be filled because it's up on a hill. But the empty lot in Naples, you have to clear the trees, okay? Labor costs more money down here, so it would cost you more to clear a lot. The empty lot here needs 5 to 7 feet of fill for you to build a house. So now you got to bring in all this fill to make that lot higher. In North Florida, they'll let you put up a mobile home with a septic tank. Well, in Naples or Collier County, in the estates, for example, which is Golden Gate Estates, out there, the county isn't going to let you put up a mobile home. They're only going to let you put up a concrete block structure. And most of the people who are doing these, they're trying to get the house in the $300,000 range and up. So they're not building 2-bedroom, 1-bath houses. They're building big 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses with a pool and a lanai and a 2-car garage. And they're also putting it on 2 or 3 acres, not 1 acre. So that 1 acre would actually be worth $60,000. So when you look at the options in Naples, there's just they're not very many affordable options. Okay, and that's really what it comes down to. It's not that the real estate in a place is more expensive than another. It's that there are not very affordable options in certain parts of the state. Like if you're in the 300,000, let's say 250 to $310,000 range, you'll get as much for your money in Naples, Florida, as you will in some parts of North Florida. Okay, so that's why people say it's affordable to buy in Naples. If you're within a particular price range, then you have your property taxes here. They're a lot cheaper. So even in North Florida, you might even end up paying more for your property taxes. So under those terms, what Sebring, Florida has is an abundance of affordable housing. Okay, there's a lot of affordable housing in the 3-bedroom, 2-bath to $120,000, $130,000, $140,000 range. There's a lot of inventory. Therefore, there's a lot more affordable options. If you're looking to spend $60,000 or $50,000, there's a lot of affordable options. Now, when you get into higher price brackets, if you want to live in a $300,000 house, I don't see why you would buy it in Sebring. If you're in that price range, you might as well take it to the coast, be on the beach, different type of thing. But that's really what it comes down to in Florida. It's not so much what it costs. It's the range, the price range you're in is going to make a huge difference on what you can get. And in some places like Hialeah, Opelika, you're paying $200,000 for a complete gut job. Okay, complete gut job. A house that's just like garbage is like $200,000 because it's in Opelika and Hialeah, and that's pretty much why the affordability issue versus the income put Opelika on that list. So that's just a little explanation of how things work, and I hope that this information is useful for you if you're trying to move within Florida. feel that for the most part, realtors are very pushy and they're very inclined to tell you that everything is great so they can sell their house. Look, there is no shortage of realtors in Florida. I've been at a bar having a beer and the waitress is telling me she's a realtor. And I'm sitting there like, you work at a restaurant, but you're also a realtor? There's no shortage of realtors in Florida. There's no need for more realtors in Florida. But what there is a need for is services directly to the buyer and helping the buyers research neighborhoods, and that's where I may want to come in. Like, I'm already doing it for free for you guys for entertainment purposes, but there are people who are in that real niche area where, hey, I'm a busy guy in Canada, I'm a busy guy in New York City, I want to buy this property in Florida, I don't have time to check it out, I want to know if it's a good neighborhood. And the problem is you can't just, that content cannot just be given raw. It kind of has to go through some filters of legalities on how you can describe to a customer what a neighborhood, if it's good, if it's bad. And really, real estate is unpredictable. So what I would probably do is I'll make a list, for example, of what I'll show, which will be like a very non-certified or I don't even know what the right word is, like a home inspection, but not like a certified home inspection. You know, I could do like a live stream of the house for the person who's buying the property. You know, get an appointment with the realtor, do a live stream of the property, and they can see the property. But then we'll also go in and do videos showing the gas stations nearby, showing development nearby, and things you're not going to get on Google Maps. Stuff that's on the ground work, you know, that like what's a local gas station look like, what's the local Walmart look like. It'll be like a checklist of here. So, you know, here's a 3-minute clip of the local gas station traffic. Here's a 3-minute clip of people walking in and out of the nearest Walmart. But within that, there's legalities. So you'll get like a checklist of, you know, for this price,
Sebring,
you'll
Florida.
get these services.
This house is on the
and I
market
still
for
have to work on exactly what those services are going to be.
What I like about
and
Sebring
how
is
I'm going
just
to get them to the customer, how they're going to pay me,
how
and
cool
what type
this
of contract I have to
this
give
area is
to
as
the
far as
customer
like,
to prevent
look at this neighborhood.
lawsuits to
Check it
come
out. You
back
got all these
because,
old,
you know, the
houses.
quality.
This is on the market for
and, you know,
$60,000.
You can get demographics. You can go on the internet. Like even myself, when I was looking at
that's right in the center of
Florida,
town.
I can call the county. I can look up at demographics, and they'll tell me, you know, this neighborhood's 90% black, this neighborhood's 90% white.
I'm not afraid of my house. It has to just be solid.
This much. You can get demographical information.
In other places up north, see all these
but
old
how do
houses.
I know if 20% of people in the neighborhood, let's say,
houses like this,
in parentheses, are on drugs?
Well,
you go to the gas stations, you hang out, and there's a homeless guy,
oh, see, it doesn't
you know, begging for money outside, then that's probably not a good sign for the neighborhood. Okay, and even that doesn't matter because there's been a lot of neighborhoods where, like Lehigh Acres, had a bad reputation. All of a sudden, the people who invested in real estate there made a killing. Opalaka,
but this is on the
horrible
market.
reputation.
You
probably have never heard of Opalaka unless you listen to rap music. And I'm in Opalaka goon, and I'm, you know, that's the only place you may have heard of Opalaka. Okay, yet look at the real estate in Opalaka. People made huge money because the area became more attractive, more expensive. Miami Gardens, the same thing.
Wood falling apart on the edge. What I'm trying to say is, mowed on the soft.
Even those prejudices that people have on real estate are completely wrong.
But this is $59,000.
You can have a prejudice against an area. Oh, this place looks trashy.
Livable.
Blah blah. Whatever prejudice you may have in an area, that means nothing. When it's time for the real estate to grow, it's going to grow. And then you got other places on the other spectrum, like Venice, Florida.
It feels like you're in Tampa or a big city.
It's a beautiful little town. It's got a pier. I wouldn't buy real estate there. I don't care how expensive it is. I don't like the. I mean, the people are great and all.
It doesn't
when you look at the price of real estate in Venice, Florida, and you drive 5 minutes out of town, there's no development, there's nothing going on. The businesses are closing.
See right there.
Even though the town is nice, but the area hasn't grown. I wouldn't invest money there. And it's a perfect little beach town. So you never know. It's unpredictable. Thank you so much for watching.